Mariners lose 7-6 in 12 innings. They fall to 4-6 on the season. They fail to complete the sweep. They do take 2 out of 3 against Cleveland. Let's talk about how it happened. Mariners get off to a great start again, as they have seemingly done even while, going 4-6. They take a 2-0 lead on Big Dumper's first homer of the year. It's actually a really good pitch that he hit out. Just he's strong, makes it 2-0. Guardians bounce back with a sacrifice fly in the first to score Steven Kwan off the bat of Jose Ramirez. It's 2-1. No runs are scored for the next 8 innings. The Mariners get some insurance run, I should say, as Tommy LaStella pinch hits and hits into what should have been a double play, but a poor throw by Josh Bell allows a run to score. Jared Kelenic goes to second, makes it 3-1. Turns out they needed both, as Miles Brennan hits a 2-run double off Matt Brash. We'll talk about why Matt Brash was closing in this one. We'll also talk about whether or not that was actually a flipping double. Tie the game at 3-3. Nobody scores in the 10th. In the 11th, Jared Kelenic doubles to right, just missed hitting that ball out, scores Big Dumper to give him a 4-3 lead. Colton Wong gets a sacrifice fly to make it 5-3. But in the 11th, off of JB Bukowskis, again, we'll talk about why these guys are pitching, gives up a double to Andres Jimenez with no out to score a run. Miles Brennan singles past a drawn-in infield to make it 5-5. Mariners score again in the 12th. Teoscar Hernandez with the clutch single to left to score Julio Rodriguez. But in the 12th, with Penn Murphy pitching, who was not supposed to be available for this game, as far as I know, gives up a run on a ground ball to first, and then Josh Bell gets a fielder's choice on a play at the plate. That was close, but the Mariners end up losing. This was a frustrating baseball game. And it's one of those that you should be able to let go of because everything was working against Seattle for this game. Let's just start with this, okay? So for those of you who aren't aware, Andres Munoz was placed on the injured list before the game. Basically, the reports are that he is struggling to deal with getting back up after, and that is not surprising considering he missed time with that surgery. So they're saying a shoulder injury. Shoulders, ban them. I hate them, but they, especially for pitchers, they are not great. It's a big loss. It's a significant loss. And hopefully they're saying that it's going to be a short-term thing. Here's hoping. And here's hoping he comes back and is Andres Munoz, because, look, the strength of this team is the pitching. And when it's not working, see what happens. Now, look, there was also a lot of things working against the Mariners today, too. Paul Sewald was not available. Penn Murphy was not supposed to be available. They send out Matt Festa, who was, I get it, he was very bad in his 2 appearances, and they bring up Justin Topa, who we'll talk about in a sec. I thought pitched pretty well. It was just so many bad things were going against the Seattle Mariners in this game that I shouldn't care that they lost. But they had so many chances to win this baseball game. So many. Okay. I got ahead of myself. And I want to make this one fairly quick because I've got some deviled eggs to eat, folks. I love deviled eggs. It's Easter. I'm going to go to grandma's, eat some deviled eggs, some ham, hopefully some pie or something like that, because I need it. It's been a long week, and I also I love deviled eggs and I love pie. So the positives. George Kirby was good. Good start. Much better than, as I predicted. What a hell of a prediction that George Kirby would be better than that bad first start that he had. Good. Very solid. Not elite, only the 4 strikeouts, but he doesn't walk anybody. He scatters 5 hits, especially after the first inning where he kind of scuffled. Really solid start and made a couple of really big pitches in key scenarios. Really positive to see. Diego Castillo was easily the best that we've seen him this year, and he's become much more vital with the loss of Munoz. Trevor Gott, solid. Okay, let's skip the other part real quick and talk about some guys on offense who had good games. Teoscar Hernandez, 2 for 6, just missed a couple other hits. I mean, absolutely clobbered a baseball that went right off of Zach Plesac's shoulder. That would have been a hit otherwise. He's making the hard contact that we expected. There's a negative to talk about here as well, but anything else positive? Hey, Colton Wong got a hit and he drove in a run. Great to see. Still hitting 074, 212, 074, but made some good contact today. Like hit a baseball to score the run that was hit relatively hard. I believe 96 miles per hour exit velocity. Not exactly walloped, but certainly deep enough to score the run. It was good situational hitting. Cal Raleigh with that first home run draws a walk. Also had some pretty bad at bats today, but does get that first homer. We like seeing that. Jared Kelnick, 1 for 5, but draws a walk. Hits a very clutch double and came this close to hitting a home run as well. AJ Pollock reaches a couple of times. Kind of talk about that in just a second. I have so much to talk about. This game, it was something. All right, let's talk about the negatives. So, Matt Brash, who has been unreal good at the start of the season, gets this chance for his first ever save, and it didn't go very well. Now, he strikes out the side, but he walks one. He gives up a hit, gives up 2 hits technically. However, so with 2 outs, he gets a huge strikeout with runners on to get to that second out, and he's facing Miles Brennan, and he gets to 2 strikes. I believe it was with 2 strikes anyway. And he leaves a pitch right down the middle of the plate, that Brennan drives. And Teoscar Hernandez runs back on the ball, and it hits him in the glove, and it falls. Now, they call it a double. Teoscar Hernandez needs to make that play. A good right fielder makes that play. And I know he's been so much better with the glove early on than we expected, but that was a friendly reminder of how frustrating this player can be. That's a play you have to make. And I have to tell you, I think Service screwed up in this situation. I understand that he wanted Kelnick to move to left field, probably because of the way the lineup was set up. You wanted the better defender in left. Hernandez started out as the DH in this game and then moved over into right field after they decided to pull Pollock, who was a terrible defender himself. But bring in Sam Haggerty for that situation. Sam Haggerty is not an elite defensive player by any stretch of the imagination, but you bring him into left and you move Kelnick into right and you win this game. I'm not going to criticize Scott Service very often. I'll call it like I see it, but I think he's really good, but I think he screwed up in this situation. That was bad. That's a play you have to make. Then you've got Matt Brash was not great though. I will say the command wasn't great. So because of the situation, so Justin Topak comes in the 10th, and I thought he looked great. Issues a couple of walks that weren't his fault. I believe both were intentional. That's one of the things about this stat is you'll look and see a couple of walks, not his fault. I thought he pitched really well. JB Bukakis did not pitch well. He ends up giving up a couple of runs, one of them earned. I don't think he pitched well. Gave up a pretty easy ringing double, bad pitch to Andres Jimenez to score a run. And then the other run scores. And ideally, he's not closing games for you. Ideally, Paul Sewald is available, who was not available today. But he did not pitch well. Penn Murphy actually pitched pretty well. But he made a sloppy ass play trying to pick off a runner that ended up letting the runner from second go to third. Let's talk about the intentional walk. I'm kind of assuming you guys watched the games a little bit, but if you didn't, just when the inning starts, the Mariners immediately up by 1, put Jose Ramirez on via intentional walk. Now, look, normally, I would say that's a terrible decision because you don't want to put the winning run on base for free. And that's what they did. Jose Ramirez was intentionally the winning run put on. But let me tell you why this game was different. It won't always work like this, but sometimes there are situations where I agree. You do that because you had to either win the game or lose the game in the 12th. Penn Murphy, again, was not supposed to be available in this game because of how much he's thrown. He's already appeared in 6 games before this. He's been worked. He was not supposed to pitch. It was basically an emergency situation. You had to either win this game or not win this game. And they didn't. And honestly, if not for the fact that Murphy makes a horrific throw to second base, they probably do win this game because it's a ground ball from Naylor to first that was weak, that wouldn't have scored a run or would have just moved people over at best. Maybe even you get the double play. And then Josh Bell hits just a weak little chopper, even with the infield into Colton Wong, that with Ramirez's speed, he scores. I get the criticism of putting the winning run on. It's not hashtag smart baseball. All due respect to my good buddy Keith Law. I think he would vehemently disagree with me on this, and I get it. But I do think in that scenario, because of what was going on with the bullpen, you either got to win that game or lose that game in that inning. Because honestly, you're probably pitching in a position player in the next inning. So win it or lose it. That was your shot. And Jose Ramirez is their best player. I'd rather take my chances with him on first base than having him hit a walk-off homer or a rigging double to tie the game. As much as I think Murphy's stuff can get anybody out, I don't blame him for doing it. There's a bunch of negatives from this game. I'm going to try not to be too negative because it's Easter and I'm in a pretty good mood. But some guys had wretched baseball games today. Eugenio Suarez does get the one hit, but he got worked in a couple of at-bats today. Worked. 3 strikeouts. I know the announcers like to tell you that JP Crawford had a great game yesterday or today, whenever you're listening to this, Sunday. I would vehemently disagree. Did make one really nice play on a ball that, he was kind of backing up and then had to make a good throw. But man, bobbling that ball in the 6th, luckily it didn't end up being too much of a factor. It was a big play, and his range continues to not impress me. I continue to not be impressed by his range. It's an issue. It's an issue. This middle infield is going to be something that I harp on a lot because they had a chance to make it better and they chose otherwise. Or they made it slightly better with the Wong trade. We'll see. Based on the results so far, which is 1/16 of the season, I would disagree that it's better. But this was a frustrating game because they had so many chances to put it away late. And man, Teoscar, you've got to make that catch. He had a really nice offensive game. Should have had 3 hits, maybe even 4. But you got to make that catch. You saw Brash's face. You saw it. And look, Brash put himself in that position by allowing a walk where he wasn't close and a stinging line drive up the middle to put those 2 runners on. But he worked himself back. And yeah, the pitch to Brennan was not good. So breaking ball that didn't break very much. But a good outfielder makes that catch. And Teoscar Hernandez, despite what the metrics tell you, despite what the announcer on TV tried to tell you today, is not a great defensive player. Been a lot better than I expected early on, but he's not a great defensive player. Well, the good news is that they won the first two, so this loss hurts less. I would have really liked to sweep. It would have been nice to get to 500 too, just for my own personal benefit. It would have been nice to say, okay, you started 1-4, now you're 5-5. Great. But this is one of those games that, like, look, I'll be honest with you, and this is just me. This is just me. I will harp more on this game than enjoy the 2 wins. That sucks, to be honest with you. It shouldn't be how it is. But and you should judge me. But this is one that's gonna stick in my craw. This is gonna be one that sticks there, man. Frustrating game. Frustrating. I'm so glad I have this show because this is so cathartic to just kinda talk it out. Man. So many missed opportunities to win this game. Hopefully, it's not one I hopefully it isn't one that sticks in my gut for a while, and I've got a lot of gut for it to stick into. But man, I should have won this game at least twice, maybe 3 times. Well, that'll do it. Please hit like, please hit subscribe. Tomorrow we've got Seattle going against the Cubs. It is Luis Castillo versus Hayden Wesnecki. It'll be an interesting matchup. Sure, nice after this frustrating loss to have one of the best pitchers in baseball pitching for you. Have no doubt it'll go well. But even if it does, I'll still be thinking about this game. Brutal. Brutal. Please hit like, please hit subscribe. Follow me on Twitter at Crawford_MILB. Follow my Patreon. I guess you kind of follow it. Patreon.com/MLB prospect guides. Man, tough one.